Hi everyone. I just wanted to hop on briefly to leave some thoughts about the big voucher vote going on in the Texas House today. Over the past couple of years, I've been a loud advocate against the school voucher program, and unfortunately, it looks like our governor finally has the votes to pass a program that would grant parents a $10,000 voucher to send their children to private schools in the state of Texas. For the past couple years, I've been reflecting on my own experience in the private school system in the state of Texas. I'm writing my memoir, Scholarship Boy, and the first third of the book focuses on my experience going to an unaccredited private school in FAR. I've talked about this openly during my first campaign for the Texas Board of Education in 2022, and I've been writing pretty candidly and openly about it for the past couple years, and soon I hope those stories can be in print in my memoir. But I'd like to just share a few excerpts from that with you and just give you some of where I'm coming from. So, my mother did not complete college. She wanted me to get the best education possible. And when I was born, she considered public schools not the best fit for me because she thought that they were underfunded. She thought that they were gang ridden, and she wanted to make sure I got the best education. She was highly religious, and so she equated high quality education with religious values. And she discovered that there was a school just a quarter mile away from our house that would teach me religious values, have small class sizes, and in her mind, give me that high quality education she wanted me to have as a single mother. So she put me in an unaccredited private school. Now, at the time, she didn't realize that the school was unaccredited. A story I'm telling in my memoir is the moment that my mother and I attended the kindergarten and high school graduation of this school, where the school was not giving out high school diplomas, they were giving out rocks. The rock was supposed to symbolize God's love. So my mother asked around, hey, where's the high school diplomas? What's going on here? And it was that night she discovered, well, the school cannot grant high school diplomas because it's not accredited and it cannot move forward students into the workforce without getting a GED. Now, my mother either didn't see this in the fine print or didn't hear about it openly during orientation when she enrolled me in this school. She soon learned that many other parents in the school didn't know about this either. So I often hear Republicans talk about parental empowerment. They should have met my mom. I mean, she was the organizer in chief when she found out that piece of information in organizing the parents of that school and making sure they knew their children were not going to graduate from that school with a high school diploma. In fact, over 90% of the teachers at that school at that time were not certified to teach in the state of Texas. Many of them were church volunteers, and we should start a plan B to start getting into another school before we reach grade 12. Now, in my case, I was transferred to PSJ ISD in the 7th grade. So it took a couple years for my mom to discover the right school for me and to transition me away from the private school to the public school system. But once that piece of information was revealed to her, and once she realized that a high quality education did not necessarily equate with religious values, she made that big decision, of course, talking to me at age 13 about what I wanted my future to be. And at the time, at age 13, I wasn't looking at the data that I look at today about educational outcomes, about what my quality education would be if I went to a public traditional school versus a public charter school versus remaining in the private school system. I didn't know anything about the basic allotment and all these technical terms we talk about. All I knew was I wanted better opportunity. And it was clear to me that PSJ ISD had more opportunities. There were many more students. There were many more extracurriculars. There was sports. There were so many things that I could take advantage of that I couldn't at the private school. Plus, I actually made friends that came from different backgrounds, and they taught me, hey, there's other cities besides FAR in the valley, and there's other interests that you can pursue, not just what the ones at the private school told you could pursue. There's a whole other chapter in my book where they banned Pokemon at the school. They banned Harry Potter at the school because they thought it was the devil. I would grow up with Pokemon cards, watching the anime that taught about the power of friendship and chasing your dreams. And even as a 10-year-old kid, I knew that was messed up. I mean, how can you tell children that Pokemon is the devil? because it came from Japan, and according to this school, they don't believe in God in Japan. It was indoctrination, it was a poor school, and many years later it got shut down. Now, I tell you this story because it's personal to me, this voucher fight. I don't believe schools like that should be getting public taxpayer dollars. In fact, I think parents should be better equipped with the knowledge and information to make sure they can spot schools like this out in Texas and make sure they can raise the alarm bells to make sure they don't put those students in those schools, just like my mother did. I don't think that we should be funding low quality schools, which is what the voucher bill would open Pandora's box and do. My biggest fear is that as a result of this $10,000 voucher passing, there's going to be scam schools popping up in strip malls and corners of the state where there might not be currently a private school, but there might be as a result of this financial incentive that many vendors, many folks out there are eyeing this voucher program and looking forward to. Public education is not a business. I hate when people say, I've run a good business, therefore I can be on the school board, or I'm aware of how a school district can function with their budget. It's a very different entity. Schools are not businesses. Unfortunately, this voucher bill incentivizes profit and places profit over people. Just wanted to share that with you. This is what I think is at stake. It's not just the separation of church and state eroding. It's not simply the fact that private school children, for the most part, do not need a voucher because their families are already well off. My primary concern is the financial incentive that's going to lead to private schools becoming money-making ventures for people who are not looking out for the best interest of children, which in my view, that private school I was enrolled in for several years as a child was part of that. I don't believe that I was getting the best quality education until I moved to PSG ISD. PSG ISD saved me. I had to take several years to catch up. If you look at my 7th grade tax scores, I was not the student I later became as a result of dedicated teachers who cared about me, counselors who believed in my ability to take those pre-AP, AP, and dual enrollment courses that eventually led me to become college ready and gave me the inspiration to apply to Princeton University in the first place and go to an Ivy League school and come back and be an advocate for public education in the state of Texas, because public schools gave me that opportunity. There's no way I would have been the person I am today if I had stayed in that private school. Now, of course, not all private schools are like that. Private schools vary in quality. Some have excellent teachers and dedicated teachers, and there's many reasons why someone might choose to work at a private school over a public school. That being said, there are many examples out there of low-performing private schools that besmirch the name of the good private schools in the state of Texas. Moreover, if the private schools are doing so well academically, why do we need to put even more public dollars into them? It's already enough that they get a lot of funding from parents, from fundraisers, and from their own private ventures. So there's no reason to have to infuse them with even more dollars if the private school seems to be doing well already by its students. Today is a huge vote. I encourage you to look at how your legislator votes, whether they're in the Texas House or later when the Senate takes this up again. It's not clear to me at this very moment whether there's going to be even more amendments and edits to this bill. But what I am concerned about is if it does pass and finally there is a voucher program in the state of Texas, it's going to take a while to unravel it. Look at what's happening in Arizona. Look at what's happening in other states with their voucher program. Their voucher programs are bankrupting their education budgets. I am highly concerned that this voucher bill is going to do the same thing in the state of Texas. And enumerating all these different negative aspects of it just really puts me in a mood to do something about it. If you haven't yet, I do encourage you to reach out to your Texas legislator, your House member. Let your voice be heard via email, call in their office, and of course making your opinion known on social media. I think we need to stand up against these bad bills. In my view, they put profit over people, and I think it's a clear giveaway to certain donors that have been influencing the Republican Party to go in the direction of vouchers. Those are my thoughts. Hope they were useful. Hope to keep in touch with you all soon with more information about how to fight back against these privatization efforts.